devotees like all of you in this special month of Kartik, which starts from today. So, very, very happy Kartik month to all of you and all your dear ones. So, let's pray for ourselves and all of other Vaishnavas and other dear ones that may this Kartik month bring us closer and closer to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Damodar, to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Yashoda Damodar and our spiritual masters and Śrīla Prabhupāda, so we can absorb ourselves more and more in this special mercy of Kartik month. And of course, you would be hearing a lot of lectures from other Vaishnavas also about the glories of Kartik month and the importance of lamp offering, etc. So today we'll not talk about that particular aspect, but it's very important to start with a vow, so called sankalpa. So for the Tampa congregation, we'll be doing that at 6 p.m. or we'll having a short class. So if you want, you can join that. But if not, you can do at your homes as well. So I was thinking, what could be a better start of the Kartik month than to hear from the lotus mouth of Śrīla Prabhupāda. So today's class will be by His Divine Grace Abhicharana Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. And we all know that His Grace Vamsi Vilas Prabhu coordinates this so nicely. So there'll be some questions, there'll be some reflections after the class. So let's absorb ourselves in hearing the lotus words of His Divine Grace. Yes, Prabhu, now you can continue.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam, everyone. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving me the opportunity to hear this lecture and prepare for this class. I have no qualification, but hearing Prabhupada's lecture and trying to get the main points is so purifying. So thank you for that opportunity. I will go ahead and start this lecture. And as Prabhuji has said, we will hear the verse, and then a few of us will try to recite it, and then we will go into Prabhupada's lecture. So it'll be like Prabhupada is with us right now, and he's reading to us, and we are in his class with the great exalted devotees. So let's immerse ourselves in this wonderful nectar.
Nabho guna vishesho arto yasya tach shrotram uchyate vayo guna vishesho arto yasya tat sparshanam vidu. Nabho guna visheshorto Nabho guna visheshorto Yashitach trotramuchyate Yashitach trotramuchyate Vayor guna visheshorto Vayor guna visheshorto Yashitat sparshanam vidu Nabho guna visheshorto Yashitat trotramuchyate Vayor guna visheshorto Yashitat sparshanam vidu Nabho guna. The sense whose object of perception is sound is called the auditory sense, and that whose object of perception is touch is called the tactile sense.
Nabho guno vishesha artha yasha tatshotram uchyate vayut guno vishesha artha yasha tatsparshanam vidu.
So does any Matajis or first Prabhujis, if Anybody would like to recite the verse that we just heard from Prabhupada?
Yeah, can you zoom in, Prabhu, please?
Namo guna visheshorto yasya tat Shrotamuchyate Vayor Guna Visheshorto Yasya Tat Sparshanam Vidhu.
Prabhu, can you zoom in a little? Nabho guno visheshartho yasya tat shrotamuchyate vayor guna visheshartho yasya tat sparshanam viduhu. Anyone else wants to recite?
Navaguna Visheshartha Jaishatak Sotram Uchayate Bayar Guna Visheshartha Jaishatat Sparshanam Vidhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Can I read, Prabhuji? Dandavat.
Please, Mataji, please go ahead.
Nabho guna visheshatho yasya tachutram uchyate vayor guna visheshatho yasya tatsparsanam viduhu. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice.
Anyone else?
Anybody else? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can read those.
Yes, please.
Okay. Nabho guna visesartha yasya tats Shrotram uchyate Bayor guna visesa artha yasya tat sparsanam vidu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you all devotees for reading so well. So let's go back to Prabhupada and hear what is wonderful nectar.
So, ether, sky, we cannot see, we cannot touch, we cannot smell, but we can hear the sound. As soon as there is sound, that we know that there is ether or sky. The sound, vibration, as we have got experience of this material sound, and therefore the material sky, similarly, there is spiritual sound and there is spiritual sky. Without sky, there is no sound. So, there is spiritual sky. We get information from Shastra. Parabom. Bom is called sky, and there is another sky. This is material sky, what we have experienced. There is spiritual sky, and about that spiritual realization, as this creation begins from the sky, ether, then air, then fire, then water, then land, kiti apte manudbam. Similarly, the spiritual world also begins from the spiritual sky. After this sky ends, there the spiritual sky begins. That is stated in the Bhagavad-gita, Parat tasmatu bhava anya. There is another bhava, means nature. That is sanatana nature, eternal nature. This nature, this sky, is temporary. it has got a duration of life, maybe millions and trillions of years, but it is not permanent. It is emanating from the Supreme Lord's breathing period, Jasyaika Nishasita Kalavathavalamba, Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadannanatha. So, after this sky, there is another sky, and the sound produced from that sky is Omkar and Hare Krishna Mantra. This is the sound vibration from the spiritual sky. Therefore it is effective immediately. Just like you contact thousands of miles away, somebody is speaking, and you can contact by the sound vibration, you catch up with your machine, radio machine. Similarly, the sound vibration from the spiritual sky, you can also receive. That is Hare Krishna Mantra. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur has described this Hare Krishna Mantra not of this material sky. Golokera prema dhana Hari Nama Sankirtan. Hari Nama Sankirtan, this is not a material sound. And in the Vedanta, it is stated, Sabdad Anavritti, by chanting the spiritual sound, the impersonalists, they chant Omkar, Pranava, Sarva Vedeshu. All Vedic mantras are preceded by the spiritual Omkar. That Omkar, Kṛṣṇa says, Aksharana, Omkarasmi, Vedeshu, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Aum. These are described in the Bhagavad Gita. Either you vibrate Omkar or Hare Krishna Mantra, they belong to the spiritual world. This sound does not belong to this material. Material sound, if you chant once, twice, thrice, you will feel disgusted. But spiritual sound, if you chant 24 hours, you will never feel disgusted, but you will feel more and more spiritual bliss. That is the difference. Actually, you see these boys and girls and others chanting Hare Krishna practically from early in the morning, 5 o'clock, till 10 o'clock, daily, but nobody is feeling any disgust. They like to chant. That is the difference between material sound and spiritual sound. So, we can enter into the spiritual world, spiritual sky. The spiritual sky is there, Sanatan, that is eternal. Sanatan, everything eternal there. In the material world, they are everything temporary. Asat. And everything in the spiritual world, that is called Sat, Om Tat Sat. That is spiritual world. So, the Vedic injunction is Asato Ma Sadgama. Try to transcend from this Asat, material world, to go to the spiritual world, Sat. Om Tat Sat. That is actually our business. The human form of life, this is only business. How to transfer me to the spiritual world. Sanatan. Because I am Sanatan. Jiva Bhuta Sanatan. Jiva is Sanatan. Eternal. Na hannate hannamane sarire. The jiva is never destroyed after the destruction or annihilation of this body. He is eternal. Nitya sāsvatayam na hannate hannamane sarire. So, this is our business, that I am eternal, as Kṛṣṇa, God, is Satchitananda Vigraha, and I am part and parcel of Satchitananda Vigraha. So, as Kṛṣṇa is eternal, so I am also eternal. The Vedic mantra says that, Nitya Nityanam. Kṛṣṇa is Nitya, eternal, and we are plural number, Nityanam. Chetanas, Chetananam, Satchit. So, as Kṛṣṇa is Satchitananda Vigraha, so we are also Satchitananda Vigraha. The difference is, Kṛṣṇa is the maintainer, Vishnu is the maintainer, and we are maintained. We are not maintainer. There are millions and trillions of living entities, not only in this universe, there are millions and trillions of universes, and there are millions and trillions of planets. Jasya prabha prabhavato jagadanna koti, kotishu asesha vasudhadi vibhuti bhinnam. Kotishu, there are innumerable universes, and as you see, experience within this universe, within this ball-like sky, in the night at least we can see so many twinkling stars. Similarly, there are innumerable universes, and there are innumerable, in each and every universe, there are innumerable these planets. This is called material world. You cannot estimate how many universes are there and how many planets are there. But this is only 1/4 manifestation of God's creation. All these universes taken together, ekaṁśena sthito jagat. This is only 1/4 manifestation. Therefore, the Vaikuntha spiritual world is called Tripad Vibhuti. 3/4. This is 1/4. So just imagine, we cannot have any estimation, even the 1/4 manifestation of the 1/4 energy of God, and what to speak of the 3/4 energy manifestation, opulence, everything in the spiritual world. The number of living entities are far greater than the number of living entities here in this material world. And there are also spiritual planets, Golokanamni Nijadhamni Tale Tatasya Devi Mahesha Haridhamashu Teshu Teshu Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha Jena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This is Govinda. Govinda is one, and Eka Brahma Ditya Nasti, and Eka Bahushyama, and he has become so many. Just like from the seed, one seed, a small seed, when it is grown up, rectified, you'd find big banyan tree and so many big branches, twigs, so many fruits. Each fruit contains again the seed, and each seed contains again millions of trees. This is creation. But the origin is one. Origin is one. Sarva karana karanam, Kṛṣṇa. Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti saddhati. Bhagavan is the origin of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Matta sarvang pravartati. Janmadasya jataha. These are the Shastri vachan. So, here is also sound, here is also sky. That the beginning of this material world is from the sound vibration. I think the scientists also agree, the materialistic scientists, that from sound everything emanates. So similarly, the same sound, you can enter into the spiritual world by taking shelter of sound. That sound vibration is Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra. If you chant Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra, by chanting this transcendental, eternal sound, you can approach. Just like by telephone, there is also sound, kring, 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 immediately you in touch with your friend thousands and thousands miles away. The sound is so important thing. Thus, by spiritual sound, you can become immediately in touch with the spiritual world, and gradually you become in touch with the Supreme Lord. Kirtanadeva Kṛṣṇasya. Kṛṣṇa has got so many expansions. Ramadi Murtisu Kalaniyamena Tishthan. Ram Nishinga Varaha, Kurma, Bhaman, so many. Hundreds of thousands. But Kṛṣṇa is the Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amena Tishthan Nana Avataram Akarat Bhuvaneshu Kintu Kṛṣṇa Sayang Samabhava Paramapamani. The original person, the Supreme Lord, Kṛṣṇa Su Bhagavan Sayam, he also comes. Ramadi Murtisu, Ram Nishinga Varaha, that is Kṛṣṇa's expansion, incarnation, they also come, and Kṛṣṇa also comes. Kṛṣṇa Sayam Samabhavat Paramapmanyo is the Supreme Person, Puman. Puman means the Purusha, the enjoyer, the proprietor. That is Kṛṣṇa. So, immediately you can be in touch with Kṛṣṇa by vibrating this sound, Hare Kṛṣṇa. It is so potent. Nama Chintamani Kṛṣṇa, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The name of Kṛṣṇa is Chintamani, transcendental. It is not this material sound, material name. Nama Chintamani Kṛṣṇa, Chaitanya, living force, Chaitanya. It is not dead sound. If you want water, if you chant only water, 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 you will not get water, because it is material sound. The water substance is different from the word water. Therefore, simply by chanting water, water, you cannot quench your thirst. you must have the substance water. That is material sound. Anything you take, simply by chanting the name, you will not get the thing. That is material. But in the spiritual world, the name and the person or the substance is the same. There is no difference. Kṛṣṇa and Krishna's name is the same. There is no difference. Therefore, those who are chanting Kṛṣṇa, 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 they are becoming more and more engladdened, enthusiastic to chant. Anandamati Vardhanam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, by chanting Hare Krishna, the first installment of benefit is Cetadarpana Marjanam. You become cleansed of your heart, cleansed of the contamination of your heart. There are many verses. Sinnatang Sakatha Krishna Punna Savana Kirtan. If you don't get anything, because there is nama aparad, offenses in chanting, there are 10 kinds of offenses. So if you can avoid the offenses, the name is pure, Krishna. But even though it is chanted offensive, by chanting, you become clean. Cetadarpana marjanam. It may take little time, but be sure that your consciousness will be clean, clear, transparent. And that is Krishna consciousness. At the present moment we have got consciousness, but that is contaminated. I am American conscious, I am Indian conscious, somebody is dog conscious, cat conscious, so many consciousness. But by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, this contamination of the consciousness will be clean, crystallized. Then you come to Krishna consciousness. And as soon as you come to Krishna consciousness, then you are in direct touch. We are direct in touch with Krishna, but it is covered by some cloud of ignorance. Otherwise, nothing can exist without Krishna's touch. That is not possible. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat abbaktam murtira. Krishna is, one Krishna is expanded all over the creation. Maya tatamidam sarvam. Ishavasam idam sarvam. Krishna is everywhere. But due to the contamination of material modes of nature, we are thinking we are apart from Krishna, separate from Krishna. Or you do not know Krishna. Although you are in touch. So that is to be cleaned. The via media impediment has to be cleansed. That is called Cetadarpana Marjanam. By chanting this transcendental vibration, your heart will be cleansed. Punna Savana Kirtana. The more you chant and hear Savana Kirtana, then it becomes pious activities. Pious activities means becoming free from the impious, sinful reaction. That is the result. By chanting Hare Krishna vibration, the sound, you gradually become clean. Cetadarpana marjanam. Cetadarpana means mirror. Just like in the mirror, there are dust covering. You cannot see your face clearly. But if it is very nicely cleansed, then you can see how beautiful is your face. So similarly, as soon as you begin chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra, you gradually become self-realized, Aham Brahmasmi, simply by chanting. Aham Brahmasmi you can understand. Then gradually, what is the duty? Simply to understand Aham Brahma, Soham, I am spirit soul. Soham means I am the same spirit soul as Kṛṣṇa is, as God is. Not that I become Kṛṣṇa. That is mistake. That means it is not cleansed. You can become qualitatively one with Kṛṣṇa. But if you think that you have become Kṛṣṇa, Mayavad philosophy, that means your heart is not yet cleansed. Janner vindakha vimukta manina tai astabhavad abhishuddha buddhaya. Abhishuddha buddha. Those who are thinking that it is called ahangraha upasana, ekattena, to become one. One in quality, not in quantity. We cannot become God. That is not possible. But we can attain God's quality. Now we have all God's quality because we are part and parcel of God. But it is covered by the material modes of nature. Triguna. Mannate trigunatmakam. Jaya vimahita jiva mannate trigunatmakam. Being covered by this illusory energy, the jiva, the living being, although it is transcendental, as good as Kṛṣṇa, but mannate trigunatmakam, is thinking that I am one of the products of this material world. This is called Maya. This is called illusion. This is called ignorance. So Cetadatmana Marjanam means you will be free from this ignorance that I am something of this material world. This is wanted. So long we are not realized, self-realized, then we are no better than these cats and dogs. Because they do not know that he is not the body. So if we think that I am this body, then we are no better than the cats and dogs. So if you want to become happy, but first of all we must get this knowledge that I am not this body. Now we are busy with the bodily demands of life. We are not busy for spiritual demand of life. That is the business of the human being. That I am not this material body, I am spirit soul. So my business is different from the business at the present moment we are engaged in. Everyone is engaged for satisfying the bodily necessities of life. Everyone. The cats and dogs, animals, they are also busy. How to fulfill the demands of the body. The demands of the body are four. Ahara nidra bhayamaithunancha. Ahar means eating, and nidra means sleeping. Ahara nidra bhaya. Bhaya means to become fearful, to become anxious, full of anxieties. Ahara nidra bhaya, and maithuna, and sexual intercourse. So these are the demands of the body. They are called Vishaya. Vishaya means so-called enjoyable. Vishaya. But the Vaishnava says that Vishaya chariya serase majiya mukhe bolo hari hari. The transcendental sound, Hari, Hare Kṛṣṇa, should be chanted Vishaya charya, without any attraction for this Vishaya, ahara nidra bhaya maithunancha, then it will be perfect. Nidyahara viharakadi vijito chattanto dino chajo. The Goswamis, they conquered over these things. Nidrahara, vihara. That is required, that is spiritual life. If you are embarrassed with these four things, ahara nidra bhaya maithunancha, then we are not making progress in spiritual life. It should be reduced. Just like Raghunath Das Goswami did. All the Goswamis, they had no business. But that is very difficult. If one has to imitate the behavior of Rupa Goswami and all the Goswamis, it is very difficult. Therefore, Yukta Vairag, we must eat Kṛṣṇa Prasadam as much as it is needed for maintaining my body. Ahara nidra bhaya. In this way, spiritual progress of life, but it will be very easy if we chant this transcendental vibration, Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, offenselessly, niraparade, then immediately become advanced, not only advanced, actually spiritually situated. So the sound is very important thing. The sound is the cause of our bondage in this material world. Just like in big cities, we are attached to the sound vibrated by the cinema artist. And no, not only that, so many other things we are hearing through the radio message, attachment for the sound, and because it is material sound, we are becoming materially entangled more and more. Some actress, some cinema artist singing, and people are so fond of hearing that singing that the artist is paid 15,000 rupees for one song. There are many here in Bombay. So just see how much attraction we have got for the material sound vibration. Similarly, the same attachment, if we turn to hear about Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra, then we become liberated. The same sound. One is material, one is spiritual. So we practice to be attached by this spiritual sound vibration. Then your life will be successful. Chetadattanamarjanam bhavamahadavagni nidvapanam shriyakairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam budhivardhanam pratipadam purnamrita asadanam parang vijayati Sri Kṛṣṇa sankirtanam. So, this Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose, that you have already attachment for sound. Now, just transfer this attachment for spiritual sound. Then your life will be successful. This is Hare Kṛṣṇa movement. Teaching people how to transfer the attachment from material sound to the spiritual sound. Narottam Das Thakur therefore sings, Golokera premodhana hari nama sankirtana rotina janmila morata. This sound coming from the spiritual world, Golokera premodhana. By chanting, by hearing this sound, we shall develop our original dormant love for God. That is one thing. Prema pumartha maha. In the material world, we are accepting dharmartha kama moksha as very important. Purushartha. Dharma to become religious, and by becoming religious, we develop our economic development. Dhanang dehi, rupang dehi, jasu dehi, dehi dehi. Kam. Why dehi dehi? Not kama. To fulfill our desires, lusty desires, dharma, artha, kama, and when you are disgusted or unable to fulfill desires, then you want moksha, to become one with God. This is the four kinds of material business. But spiritual business is prema pumartha maha. To achieve love of Godhead, that is the highest perfection. Prema pumartha maha. So, to achieve this goal of life, prema pumartha maha, who in this age especially, and Kali Yuga, because we cannot do any other thing, it is very, very difficult. The time is very obstacle, full of obstacles, and therefore, Kalo, this is the method. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Chant Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra. Kevalam. Only. Kalo nastiva, 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 gatirannatha. In the Kali Yuga, because main business is how to get relief from this material bondage. Bhutta bhutta praliyate. People do not understand even that. What is really our distress? Kṛṣṇa says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says personally, these are your miseries. What? Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Repetition of birth and death. This is your real misery of life. What you are thinking of this misery or that misery? They are all temporary. They are all under the laws of material nature. You cannot get out of it. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvas. Prakriti will force you to do something because you have contaminated the material modes of nature. Therefore you have to act under the direction of this Prakriti, material nature. And so long you are under this material nature, you have to accept this birth, death, old age and disease. This is your real misery. We are thinking temporary miserable condition. Shastra says that you don't require to adjust temporary material misery or happiness because they will come and go. You are destined to certain type of miserable condition of life, certain type of so-called happy life, that will automatically come and go. That's like seasonal change. Agama paina anitya tang titi kasabhar. We are very much happy when you are in a very good condition of life, but that will also not stay. That will also go away. Then miserable condition. Chakravat parivartanti sukhani dukhani. Sometimes happy, sometimes miserable. So, if you are actually interested to get out of miserable condition, then try to get out of these four miserable conditions of life. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. That is intelligence. Don't be bothered with the temporary miserable or happy. They will come and go. Tang titi khasavar. If you cannot bear, then try to tolerate. That is the qualification of Brahmana. Sattva, sama, dhamma, titikha. Tolerance. We should not be disturbed. Now I am in miserable condition. Tolerate, the miserable condition will come, this material world. Don't be very much happy when you are in happy condition of life, neither you become mad in miserable condition of life. Chant Hare Krishna and make your life success. That is required. This is the propaganda of this Hare Krishna movement or Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening. So wonderful. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. I have some questions prepared, so we can go ahead and discuss these. Does anybody have any reflections before we start the question answer and discussions? Okay. So our first question of discussion is, what is that from which we cannot see, smell, touch, taste, but hear the sound?
Sky.
Sorry, can you please say that again?
Sky.
Time?
Sky.
Sky. Very good. Yes. Prabhupada mentions sky. We hear this in different ways. We hear as ether or space. So that's like the Panchabhutas, right? Mahabhutas. So the one thing we learn is the nature of sky, ether, space is the sound is prominent. And then from sky comes fire.
Space. Air. Air produces fire.
Yes, thank you so much. Fire
Produces water.
Yes.
Water produces earth.
So in ether, there's only sound, or sky or space, there's only sound. In air, there is, we can touch and hear. And in fire, we can see, touch, and hear. So like Prabhuji just, one is expanding into the other, and also the object of the senses are also increasing. So the earth has all these different characteristics. So that's something that came out to me. Anybody else want to add?
Sound produces space, right?
Yeah. So sound is propagated in space. So we can, and Prabhupada also mentioned that transcendental sound creates the space. And we also know from Garbhodakashai Vishnu, Brahma comes out, and Brahma gets all the instructions to create the universe through sound. So he hears the word tapa, and he meditates for millions of years, and then he does the service of creating the universe. So very correct, Prabhuji. So sound is creating this material universe. Any other reflections?
Yeah, the air can also transmit a smell.
Yes, that's a good thought. But according to Shastra, the nature of air is it does touch and hear. So air transmits smell, but it has some molecules of something else, which is like the representation of the earth, like the material manifest. So we are going from subtle to gross. And so if there is some smell, it is actually particles of something vaporized.
It's a secondary effect, you can call it that.
Yeah. Yes. Any other points anybody would like to bring up on this aspect of ether and sound? Okay, thank you. We have 15 questions, so we'll have to move fast.
He also talks about different kinds of sound, right? Material sound and spiritual sound.
Very nice. Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. That's the main point of this lecture. The very title is Dead Sound and Living Sound, or Material Sound and Spiritual Sound. So, of course, we will come to that point, but it's a good segue. We'll go into, so go into that soon, Prabhuji. So where does the spiritual world begin from? I can't hear you, Prabhuji. Please, if you could please speak up.
Where material sky ends.
Yes, very nice. Anybody can describe that transition, how that happens? Material, we read in the previous cantos in Bhagavatam how the different layers of the material universe are there. We go from the gross to subtle, and finally the ether covering, and then after the material universe, then there is what is there before the spiritual sky. I was waiting for this Brahma Jyoti. So that's the impersonal nature of the Lord. And then after that is the spiritual sky and the Vaikuntha planets. Okay. Anything else to discuss in this? Okay. Prabhupada mentions another nature. So what we see today around us, that's space, air, fire, water, earth. What is another nature? So Prabhupada gives a reference. So Prabhupada's every word is full of references, and thanks to the Prabhus or Matajis who have uploaded this, they have transcribed everything and given the reference of where Prabhupada is mentioning this from. So if we go to
and then like there was this Ash, she was low, and then like I dived her, and there's like a Blitzcrank and Fiora.
Prabhuji, I couldn't get that. Can you please speak louder? Okay, so Prabhupada is mentioning about another nature from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, 20th verse. Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to the manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as is. So when Prabhupada says about the another nature, he's mentioning about the spiritual world. That is Satchitananda, and is eternal. Material nature is temporary because it has an expiry date. It has a beginning and end. It's manifest and unmanifest. Any other points on this question? What is emanating from Supreme Lord's breathing period?
The whole material world, everything, all the planets, the universe, everything.
Hey brother, those are my final grade then exams. If I like pass those like decently, like
The material world is manifested. Very, very nice. Any other points? And material world is destroyed also, right? While the Lord breathes out, all the material planets are manifested. When he breathes in, everything is annihilated, destroyed. Okay. So what is the sound vibration from the spiritual sky?
Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Mahamantra. Prancha.
Yeah, wait. I've seen like desktop, so they're probably
And
giving.
and
Also.
also
Omkara.
mentions about Om. Very nice. Yeah. Om or the Pranava mantra. And Prabhupada mentions what Om is made up of. Om is made up of A, U, and M. A, U, Ma. And I just did some searching, and A actually represents Krishna. U represents the pleasure potency of Krishna or Radharani. And Ma represents the energy of the Lord, like like all the energy of the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, so we are all part of the Ma. And of course, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is coming from the spiritual world, and it's not a material sound vibration. Okay. Oh, to the next question. We only have 3 minutes. Let's go quicker. So this is the main point of this lecture. Okay, so one more point here. Prabhupada mentions the analogy of radio and telephone. Can anybody say why he used that analogy?
Because people are attracted for material sound. If we develop by practicing that spiritual sound attraction, that is the end goal for us.
Yeah, sorry, I just went back to the previous question. So the radio analogy Prabhupada uses is the spiritual sound. It comes from the spiritual world. And just like the radio, it can grab sound waves from very far away. We can hear or get the sound vibration from the spiritual world. So the radio analogy is about receiving the Harinam. So this is like the Shravanam aspect. So initially we have to hear, right, to understand about the Lord and the spiritual world, and from the spiritual master and his bona fide representatives we are hearing. So we are like the hearing from the radio, and they're not material people or persons. It's coming from directly from the spiritual world. And then the analogy of telephone, anybody can say?
Well, telephone just a means of communication from one person to another. So the analogy is to the transcendental world, communication from us to the Lord.
Very nice, very nice. So this is Kirtanam, where when we are saying the Harinam, it's not just getting stuck in our room or around us. It is going directly to the spiritual world. And Prabhupada mentions a telephone where you can call a person who is thousands of miles away. And so similarly, the Kirtanam is going directly to Krishna, not being just in the material world. So what is the difference between material and spiritual sound vibration? And is there attachment for sound?
Material vibration will be boring with after some times, but spiritual vibration is continuous. 24 hours if we chant, still Prabhupada is saying I will not be bored. it has a spiritual strength.
Very nice, Mataji. And Prabhupada mentions about all the wonderful young devotees who were chanting at that time, morning, day, and night. They're not feeling tired or bored. Very nice.
It was something with you, right?
And what else is the what are the
Prabhupada
other
gives the
differences? Yes.
example of water, that if we chant water, we will not get water, but if we chant Krishna, Krishna, we will get Krishna.
Yeah.
So the word and the material water is different, and anything material, what we call it is different from the substance itself. But in spiritual vibration, Hare Krishna is actually Krishna himself.
So one other thing, attachment to material sound is temporary. In the sense that we like a certain film song, then soon we get tired of that, then we want something else and something else. But the spiritual sound is eternal. Once you develop the attachment, you always have that attachment.
Very nice point, Prabhuji. I didn't catch that, so thank you so much. Okay, and one more is the spiritual sound is eternal. It also purifies, right? Prabhupada mentioned so many times about Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So it purifies our consciousness. Material sound does not purify, it actually makes us more contaminated. And in both there are attachments. But with that, all those material attachments, like if somebody is interested in pop culture and all that, Prabhupada mentions about people paying 15,000 rupees at that time to hear in Mumbai from a film actress. So similarly, that attachment is not going to get us anywhere. That energy and time and money can be used so much better for our sustenance eternally if we choose. Okay. Anything else? This is the main point of this lecture. Anything else anybody would like to add? Okay, Prabhupada mentioned asatoma sadgamaya om tat sat. So what does that mean?
Om Tat Sat is eternal.
Yeah. So we are not temporary. We are like the body. We are eternal beings. What does asatoma sadgamaya mean?
To go from asat to sat. Asat is material, and sat is eternal and spiritual.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. So what is Jiva Bhuta Sanatana? What does Na Hanyate Hanyamane Sharire mean? This is references from Bhagavad Gita 2.20.
Han means destroy. Nahanyate. So the soul is not destroyed, but the sharira, or the body, is destroyed.
Very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. The soul doesn't die when the body perishes. Who is the maintainer and who is the maintained?
Let's give a chance to those who have not yet answered. Please don't feel shy. Even if you are not sure, please answer, try. A lot of devotees have not yet answered or responded. Please, I would encourage, don't feel shy or don't feel that you have to be perfect only. Yes, Sudhir Prabhu, Kumar Prabhu, Pravir Prabhu, Vipul Prabhu, you have not spoken. Vasuti Mataji, Arundhati Mata. So many devotees have not spoken. Please speak.
I spoke, Prabhuji. So,
You spoke.
maintainer is our Supreme Lord. Maintainer is our Supreme Lord, and we are the maintained.
Very nice, Mataji. So how many material universes are there, and what is Tripada Vibhuti? Prabhupada mentions this in the lecture. No. This should be an easy question. How many material universes are there? There is innumerable.
Yeah, millions of metrics.
Yes.
Vaikuntha Lokis Tripada Vibhuti.
Yes, very nice, Mataji. And Prabhupada, the word itself means it is Tripada Vibhuti means 3/4 of the Lord's creation. What is Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Sabhyate? So this is one point that from Bhagavatam reading that His Grace Shubhalas Prabhuji has driven home for each one of us. So if anybody who has not answered yet, if they can tell us what Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti is.
Can I speak? I spoke already.
Yeah, maybe if devotees are busy Kartik month, so it's just
Prabhuji, I can say.
yes, okay.
Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. We read that in Bhagavatam class. Brahman means the Brahmajati, Brahmanical effulgence, and Paramatma, who is resides in our heart, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the supreme, the topmost phase of Lord Krishna.
Very nice, Mataji. 3 types of realizations, right? And who realizes the Lord as Brahman?
Impersonalist.
Very nice, Mataji. So in the Brahman realization, there is Sat, and then in Paramatma realization, there is Sat and Chit, and in Bhagavan realization, there is Sat, Chit, and Ananda, both eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. So that's the perfect understanding. Thank you, Mataji. What does Parama Puman mean? So Parama Puman.
No.
Yes, no.
Proprietor.
Yes, Mataji. So Puman is just another word for personality. So it's referring to Kṛṣṇa. Thank you, Mataji. Okay. So what is the difference between contaminated and Krishna consciousness? How to become Krishna conscious? How do we focus on spiritual demands? So anybody would like to sum this up?
I can answer that if you want.
Yes, Prabhuji, please.
Yeah, it's basically like we have been discussing so far, getting attached to a transcendental sound and taking out, because our consciousness is so polluted materially, we are trying to cleanse that consciousness. And that way we can transfer our consciousness to a pure consciousness, and we get attached to and we become more Krishna consciousness.
Yes. Following the 9 limbs of bhakti, especially in this lecture, Prabhupada is telling us about Kirtanam or chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Okay. And what is the analogy of the mirror used?
Chitta Darpana Marjanam.
Yes. Very nice, Mataji. So our consciousness is like the mirror full of dust. So when we clean that mirror, our natural attraction for Krishna comes up. Thank you. Last 2 questions. What are the 4 demands of the body? What are the 4 types of material businesses? What are the 4 miseries? And what is intelligence? So let's start with what are the 4 demands of the body?
Is Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, and Maithunamji.
Very nice. What are the 4 businesses? Prabhupada mentions about Purusharthas.
You're asking the 4 material businesses?
Yes.
Is that lust, anger, greed, and envy?
That's like the 4
Those are
anarthas, 4 vices. Yeah.
Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha.
Very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji. Yeah, so usually the Vedas, they prescribe this slow process of pravritti marg where everybody is engaged in dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But Prabhupada is telling we should be coming out of that and focusing our energies on the spiritual business. So what are the 4 types of miseries Prabhupada mentions?
Birth, death, old age, and disease.
Very nice. Yeah. And actually in this lecture only I saw all these 4, and it's good that they're all connected. We can think about them together. And what is intelligence? So put it simply, it is to choose material consciousness to be lower and take spiritual business as priority so that we can purify ourselves. We all have that choice. So what is the choice we are going to make? That if we make the right choice, then we are intelligent. So what is the difficulty to imitate Goswamis? What should we do?
We should not imitate Goswamis. We can follow their footsteps. We should follow their footsteps, not to imitate them.
Yes, very nice. So most of us in family life, we cannot imitate the Goswamis. We cannot give up all the purusharthas. We have to do our family duties, etc. And how do we actually do this? So how can we reconcile if we cannot imitate the Goswami? Is to do everything what we do in service of the Lord. So though we are doing material things, if we surrender that to the Lord and keep Krishna in the center and dovetail to Krishna and serve the great Vaishnavas, we will also be perfect. Okay, last question. How does Prakriti force you to act? Why should we not be disturbed?
Because this will come and go, not permanent.
And the three modes of material nature, we are like puppets in the hands. Yes.
It's nature forces us because we are contaminated by the three modes of nature. Our body is basically made of that only. So we get end up with that procedure of Maya.
Very nice, Mataji.
And we should not get disturbed by the happinesses or disturbances of life. Being sambhav.
And Prabhupada mentions that we should not be disturbed. What does he mean by that? So Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi and all that will come, but how should we approach those miseries?
Prabhupada told, do not be too happy when you are with your like temporary happiness, and do not be too distressed. Just focus on the Supreme Lord and focus on His path. Not be to the all the material reactions what we are getting in our daily life.
Very nice, Mataji. So we should not be disturbed. The word Prabhupada uses, titikshava. So we should be very tolerant to all the material miseries coming our way and focus on our Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, we should be equipoised. That's what we heard many times.
Yes. Very nice points, Prabhuji. So that concludes all the questions. Anybody has any other realizations from this lecture? Anybody like to share that we didn't discuss so far?
Just a quick comment, Prabhu. Actually, I like very much this five concept, like sound produces air, space produces air. This one. I think only spiritual people knows about this concept, or does anyone know?
So Prabhupada mentions in the lecture that even scientists are saying that sound is how everything started. Maybe the Big Bang, they call it a bang. Usually bang is like a sound. But yeah, we didn't study it in any of our science, but we know everything is perfect in the in the scriptures. So even like Darwin's theory, they took the different incarnations of the Lord from Matsya, Kurma, Varaha. So it's a fish, reptile, and Narasimha, and then finally like Rama, so human being. They took that and said we came from the fish or from aquatics, etc. So they're taking what is in the scriptures and twisting it and saying it is their theory.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. You know this very well, and thank you for all the wonderful points.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Also, Prabhupada, you mentioned lastly about should learn the tolerance actually.
Yes.
the Brahmana qualities.
Yes. Good, very good point, Prabhuji. We should be tolerant.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes. One more point which is very practical in our lives is that we are going through the Nama Prada because our consciousness is very much contaminated. And the regular chanting is going to free us from the sinful activities, which will take us more closer to Krishna. That point that that the cloud of ignorance will shred off. So this is very nice point that we know in which state we are, but regular chanting will take us to the next level. It will free us from the sinful activities. So that faith is very nice.
Yes, very nice point, Mataji. Any other realizations?
This one kind of like not directly to the lecture, but indirectly, like Prabhupada was not feeling so well. I believe at this point he was coughing multiple times, but his consciousness was completely spiritual and completely at the level of transcendental platform, giving us this nectar, even compromising his own life, health, and everything.
So nice, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhupada is giving his everything to his devotees and for us to hear many, many years after he left the planet. And still so potent to hear his lecture and get spiritually charged. Okay, with that point, I think we can conclude this. Prabhuji, would you like to take over and guide us?
Yes, thank you, Amsulas Prabhu. This is very, very powerful, and in reading and hearing Srila Prabhupada's words is very, very important for every ISKCON devotee. No matter we are in India, no matter we are in initiated or not initiated, or US, or no matter whoever spiritual master, our Diksha Guru or Shiksha Gurus may be, but we have to always keep Srila Prabhupada as a core of our spiritual lives. And therefore, these lectures are very important. So thank you so much for so nicely coordinating. Now, Kartik Mas is there. So it's 10:25 almost. But I was thinking to read Chaitanya Shishtastikam every day and to read 2-3 verses from Nectar of Instruction every day and 3-4 verses from Bhagavad Gita every day, so we can put that in our kind of Bhagavatam package. It's recommended. It's good. I also made a checklist which I just shared on the group, so you can have a look, and if you want to modify that based on your situations, feel free to do so. But it's a good way to help us to understand what all things we can do. So who all are available for next 15 minutes to read those verses? Just quickly, just we'll read the verse. We'll not go in depth because it takes time. Or the other option is we can do it in the evening. Shall we do it now? 15 minutes? Okay, we'll do it now. So we will read 5 verses from Bhagavad Gita, 2 verses from Nectar of Instruction, and 8 verses from Shishtashtakam. So let's start with Bhagavad Gita. So in 30 days, we will be covering these 3 times. That means if we're reading 5 verses every day, so in 10 days we'll complete, and then next we will repeat 3 times. So everyone there are about 10 devotees on call, so we can read a few verses. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmashetre kurukshetre samvetayutsava mamaka pandavaschaiva kim akurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Karpanya dosho pahatsvabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammura cheta yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme Shishyaste shadi mam tvam prapannam. So this Arjuna is speaking. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all my composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to please tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Yes, Kashish Mata, do you want to read the next two? Or next three, so you can five. That will be five for today. Yeah, 13, 14, 20. Yeah.
Dehinno yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantra praktir drihas tatra na muhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkata agamapayino nityas tamsa titikshava bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance is due course, and like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons, they arise from sense perception, O son of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. न चायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायां भूत्वा भविता न भूयाः अजो नित्यासस्वतो यां purano na hanyate hanyamane sharirim. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and remember, he is not slain when the body is slain. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So now we will read the two verses from Nectar of Instruction. Would someone like to read? This is given by Sri Rupa Goswami, also called Updeshamrita.
Yeah, I'll read, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Vacho vegam manasya krodha vegam jiva vegam udaropastha vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dhirha sarvam apimam prativimsa sisyat. Translation and purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the action of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciple all over the world. Purport.
We'll just read the translation, because if you read the purport, then you will need hours to read. So, purport you can, devotees can read at their end as with their, yeah. Okay, next verse. Would someone like to read?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes.
Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. Translation and purport by Stephen Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. One's devotional service is spoiled when he comes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of the following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness and being greedy of our mundane achievements. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Now we'll read the Shishtastakam. So there are 8 devotees and not read. So everyone can read one verse and one translation. This is Chaitanya Shishtastakam. And this is actually the words of the Supreme Lord, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes. Yes, Supreme Prabhu.
I can start, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna devotees, Donut Pranam. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Mahadhavagni Nirvapranam, Shreyo Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidya Bodhu Jivanam, Ananda Ambodhi Vardhanam, Protipadam Purnamita Ashadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Translation: Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life, of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to read the second verse?
Who I can read?
Yes.
Nam akari bahuda nijar sarva shaktis tatra pita niyamita smaranena kalo etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi duddairbamidrisham ihajani na onuraga. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I can read.
Ji.
Tranadapi sunichena taror api srahishnunam amani namana deha kirtaniya sada harihi. Translation: one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Next, anyone?
Hare Krishna, I can read. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagat ishakamaye, amma janmani janmani ishwari, prabhatad bhaktir hit ki tvayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want a causeless devotional service, birth after birth. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Next, anyone? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I can read.
Yes, please.
ऐनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कज स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to read? Nayanam galadashradharaya vadanam gadgadhrudaya giram pulake nichitam vapukada tavanam grihane bhavishyati. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with the tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Yes, Mr. Lastro.
Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravarsayitam sunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahane me. O Govinda, feeling your separations, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
Last one, anyone?
I can
Asli Shobha, go ahead.
Prabhuji.
Asli Shobha Padaratam Pinastumam Adarsanam Marmahatam Karotuba Jatha Tathava Bidadhatu Lampoto Mat Prananathas Tushae Bonapara. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. And the ninth is actually the first Shruti. If one recites or hears these 8 verses, referring to the top 8 verses which we just read, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his ecstatic love and devotion for Krishna increases day by day.
Oh, we have to bring your chair.
So, what's that verse? Prabhura Shikstashtaka. That means the 8 verses. Shloka, these verses. Ye pade, jo padta hai. One who reads, and shune, one who hears. Krishna prema bhakti tara bade dine dine. Every day by day, his prema bhakti, his love for Krishna will increase. So in this month, let's make a resolution that we should read and hear these every day, day by day, so we can increase our love and devotion towards Krishna. So, okay, we'll then connect in the evening at 5:36 p.m. And thank you again for all of your wonderful association, and happy Kartik month again. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Śrī Kartik Damodar Mas ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.